I think it's pretty clear that we're not going to reverse civilization. We're not going to walk away from the greenhouse gas emissions that accompany economic growth and our quality of life. And so what we need to be thinking about is, where's the actual risk going to manifest if it warms, right? So if it warms by a degree or 2 degrees, and I'm not going to get into the how many degrees issue here, if it warms a certain amount, there will be some consequences. Water will expand, sea levels could rise, salt water could intrude into freshwater supplies, floodplains could be affected, there could be areas of drought, there could be areas of water shortage. How do we respond to those things directly? By fixing the incentives that lead people to put themselves in climatically fragile areas, both in developed countries and developing countries.
Yeah,
and I think that's where we really have a good possibility of moving people out of harm's way. For example, just stopping the subsidization of risk from flooding, where governments rebuild people in situ in the same place that they were flooded out of, and having real insurance markets that capture the full value of flood risk, would go a long way toward having people migrate away from those areas slowly, and as the price rose with regard to the risk, as the risk appeared. I think we could do huge things to help society become resilient around here and around the world. In the face of climate change, no matter whether it's human or natural. We now know the climate changes variably, both naturally and with some human influence.
Certainly after a car crash, you want to do triage, and there's no question we're going to have to do triage. The car crash is not going to be pretty. The IPCC, again, the gold standard says 4 to 4.5 degrees. It does matter what the number is, because it's a degree of the severity of the car crash. Yeah. I think we should actually try to avoid the car crash. I mean, we're going to have some bumps along the way, but mitigate, mitigate, mitigate. Let's not forget, renewable energy is technology driven, right? Which means it can follow a growth curve that builds on itself, an exponential growth curve. And it's technology driven, so its price point will go down at the speed of technology, whereas fossil fuels are resource driven.
Well,
so
Tom,
mitigate, mitigate. Just one second. So acknowledging the car crash is coming is really important, because now we can say, well, let's price the externality, let's price carbon. And yes, that's hard to do politically,
Tom, but repetition won't establish truth, Tom. You can say it over and over and over again. That's not going to make it any truer than the first couple of times you said it.
Repeat?
And there are questions about how much warming we're going to have. That's what you've been repeating.
Gold standard, gold standard.
Yeah, like I said, gold standard, 4 degrees.
Well, is the IPCC not the gold standard? I don't know if the Fraser Institute needs to be known as an evidence-driven organization, but this show does.